Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the Two Ewes of Two Ewes Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at twoewesfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our Two Ewes Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Hi, Kelly. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, Marsha.
Yeah, this is the first time we've talked, I think, since before the holiday.
Yeah, has your 2023 been?
It's been very nice so far because I left New Year's Day for the beach. We went, Kim and I went down to the Oregon coast to Cannon Beach and with the dogs because the dogs needed a vacation from the stress of the holidays.
Only the dogs needed a vacation from the stress of the holidays.
Yeah. So it was nice. We had 4 nights down there. It was really fun. I don't know if you saw any of the pictures I posted, but they had very high tides. So we couldn't really go to the beach in the morning like we normally do. We had to wait till the afternoon till the tide went out. So that was a little bit different, but it was fine.
I did see the one picture you posted where there literally was no beach.
Yeah, it was hitting the rock wall they have along in front of the hotel where we were staying. And I actually thought those really expensive, desirable homes that are right on the beach with the fantastic views, I don't know that I want to stay in one of those.
Yeah.
I liked we had a view, but we were not right on the beach. We were back. We kind of overlooked, it doesn't sound good, but it's actually fine. You sort of overlook a parking lot for the park. Mm-hmm. And so you're back a solid 50 yards probably from the beach, which made me, and we were up on the 3rd floor, which made me feel better. I don't think I'd want to be on one of those houses right on the beach with the bedrooms on the ground floor.
Yeah, not during this storm.
Yeah. And you're having storms down there too, right?
Yeah.
In California?
Mm-hmm. We weren't hit as bad as some of the surrounding areas. But we've had, every time it rains, we've had more than an inch, which is really unusual for us to get that much rain at a time. We did have one day, it wasn't this most recent storm, it was maybe a week and a half ago, where the street flooded in front of our house, because of the slough, what used to be the slough running through our yard and through the yards of, all of the neighbors. It comes right across the street. What used to be the slough, you can see from above, it comes right across our street. And so the street kind of dips down because of the old slough having been there.
Right.
And so that part where the street dips down floods, and especially if the city pumps for the stormwater aren't working properly, then it really floods. Anyway, it got high enough that it went above the curb and was flowing into the old slough in our yard. And so I always Robert hates when that happens, but I always like it because I feel like I'm capturing stormwater for my own yard. Like, yay, extra water. But this year he was worried about it because he said, he didn't want that water to undermine his fence posts.
Right.
That he had put in. And that didn't happen. It, was nothing huge. But there was some water runoff from the street into our little ravine, and that hasn't happened in quite a few years. So yeah, we didn't suffer much at all. Well, we didn't suffer at all from the storm. But like the beach in the Capitola area, one of the old beaches that I used to, the beach that I used to go to when I was a kid, their whole parking lot is gone, just destroyed from the tides. Robert was showing me pictures this morning, and look, he's been really watching the weather. He's got the Weather Channel and all the places that he used to look when he was working at the agency and needed to keep tabs on what the weather was going to be for their generator system in case power case of power outages and the stormwater, so they could predict and, because the stormwater goes to the treatment plant. Yeah, he was really, he has been sort of obsessing over the radar and all that.
Well, and when I was at the beach, he texted me that about the light fixtures on the front of the house that, I helped him put them up that one time when I was down there, and he put some extra wire on them, I think, to secure them because he was really worried about the winds.
Yeah.
The reason why you got those new ones is the wind had knocked the old ones, had damaged the old ones. So he was really worried about that. They're fine though so far?
Yeah, they are fine. The only his rain gauge, which is a 5-gallon bucket, I did the one day that the wind was so hard, I looked out the kitchen window and this white plastic bucket goes flying across the yard. I'm like, oh, okay. So now he turned our, we have a teak side table. He turned that upside down, set the bucket inside of the 4 legs, and then, propped bricks around the edge to both hold the table down and hold the bucket firmly inside the table legs. So he's got that sitting outside to measure, so he can kind of keep track of the rain, the amount of rain. I measure it by the amount that's in the dog dishes. So I have a 12-hour rain gauge, feed the dogs in the morning when I go out at night to feed them again. I see how much is there. Yesterday, it was about an inch in the 12 hours. It was pretty steady. Not hard rain, but pretty steady all day until yesterday afternoon. Today, we have a break. It's really nice. It's I can even see blue sky outside. So there was one day that it was so gray, it felt like nighttime all day long. It was that's super unusual for us. So anyway, that's what's been happening here. Aunt Betty had her second cataract surgery, and it went all fine. So,
oh, good.
So she's happy. She's able to see. She had a follow-up appointment yesterday, so that's all good. So my 2023 is going pretty well too.
Yeah, well, mine's going pretty well because I had a nice trip to the beach, and then I'll talk about some other stuff when we get to projects. So should we jump into projects or?
Well, let me just announce about the episode 200, as long as we're stopping for business here. So we are currently on episode 198, coming up on episode 200. And so we're going to do for episode 200 listener Q&A. So we'll answer your questions. And we've got quite a few questions already between email and the Ravelry thread. So I put up a Ravelry thread where you can ask questions, or you can email us Two Ewes at twoewesfiberadventures.com, or you can message us, on Instagram, or you can use our website, twoewesfiberadventures.com, and there's a contact us page, and you can use that to send us an email. Lots of ways for you to let us know what your questions are, and then we're going to answer them on episode 200.
Try to answer all of them.
Yeah. And I've been listening to some of the older episodes, just kind of going back to refresh my memory about. At first, I was a little worried, like, I'm not sure I want to go back there and see how we sounded. But, we weren't that bad, Marsha. I think we did pretty good when we first started. I do remember when we first started, every episode, Robert would go to work and he'd listen to it. Then the next day, he'd give me a rundown of a critique. It helped us get better. I do have to say that it helped us get better, but sometimes it was not a welcome critique.
Now, do you remember? I'm kind of curious. Well, maybe I shouldn't even ask, but I'm dying of curiosity. Like, what were some of the critiques that he would give?
He said I repeated myself, which I still do when I edit. Sometimes I think, Kelly, why did you have to say the same phrase 3 times while you were thinking of the next thing you were going to say? He also said that I talk slowly. Like I'll be talking along at a normal pace, and then he can tell that I'm thinking because I get really slow. So stuff like that, And then when we started actually recording together, he's like, "You guys are much more interesting when you're recording on the phone together." So
yeah, no, I think that changed the dynamic a lot, when we started recording together. But I still listen to myself, and every episode I'm critical of myself. It seems like I can't follow my train of thought. And I make so many mistakes too, in terms of when I'm describing stockinette or garter stitch, or making the garter squish blanket, and like, oh God, sometimes I listen back and I roll my eyes, but anyway, we're just human, right?
Yeah, you need to be kinder to yourself, Marsha.
Yeah. Well, yes, I've been reading the questions and I'm looking forward to answering them.
Yeah, it'll be fun. So do send us your questions. And, it could be about anything. So far, a lot of the questions have been about our lives and our crafting and the podcast, that kind of thing. But yeah, bring them on. Let's see.
All right. Okay. So projects.
Yeah. So let's go ahead.
You want to go first, or?
Sure. I can go first. So last episode, I said I had some plans. I did not have much knitting, but I did have some plans. And I can say that I did what I set out to do. I finished the angel from the knitted nativity scene. I did finish the star, the knitting of the star. Now I just have to sew it. There's 2 pieces, and then you sew them together and stuff them. So she's holding on to this stuffed star. So I did knit it, but I haven't sewn it together and stuffed it. But the angel part is done. I even washed her hair because the yarn the yarn that they had for her hair was wound around a cardboard. Most of the yarn was in little balls or cakes, and the yarn for her hair, I'm not sure why, was wrapped around a cardboard. And so where it wrapped around, it had like a kink. So her ponytails were very messy. Hair curling all different ways. Not curled, but like fish hooked, like kinked around the edge of that cardboard. So I wet her hair. I had to wet it down twice and then let her dry before most of that came out. So she's done. I knit a bumper from Minnie's cat bed, and it's in there. Good. Yeah. So, and I do know she slept in it at least one night. During the real rainy days, she sleeps we have a house out there that I have a wool woven pad in. The one she used to have, I put in there. And she sleeps in there when it's rainy and she needs to really stay out of the rain or it's really cold. I'm not sure where she sleeps all the time because she's not always on the front porch, especially since we got Barry. He barks at her. Although she doesn't, honestly, I say she doesn't sleep there because of Barry, but Barry has been on the front porch coming in, in the morning, and she has been under the car in the driveway on the porch that same morning and walked up to him like twice. So she's not really afraid of him, although I don't think she likes the barking, but she's not afraid of him. He's afraid of her. This is funny. You'll get a kick out of this. So one morning, Robert had him and he kind of growled at her as she was walking towards him. And so Robert, corrected him and said no. And so, and he was, wiping off his feet and stuff to let him in. And so Barry turned himself around and put his head in the corner of the porch. So he didn't have to look at her. Here's this big dog. And he's really kind of afraid of her.
That's funny.
He doesn't know what to make of her. And so since he couldn't growl or do anything wrong, do anything aggressive toward her, he had to just put his head in the corner. Like, if you can't see her, she doesn't exist.
That's
pretty
funny.
cute. Yeah. Yeah. So all of that orange wool is gone. And then I had to grab some additional coned wool from my weaving stash, and I knit with it for the rest of the bumper. So I got that done. And then the third thing that was on my list for before was to wind a warp for the Monk's Belt project at the Jane Stafford Guild. And I did that as well. And I'll talk more about that at the end of my project. So I got all of that done. And then I've even returned to working on the mohair vest. In fact,
okay.
That's what I have in my lap right now, what I've been knitting on. And I tried it on this morning. And so it's top down. And I have more than about 12 inches from the armholes. So it's kind of at high hip length, and I want it to be longer. So I'm continuing to knit down. But I'm going to have so much yarn left over. Maybe I won't. Maybe once I put the ribbing and the band. I started with 3 skeins. I've basically got 2 balls, which is 1 skein, that I am working on actively, and then one in the... So I don't know. We'll see. So I'm continuing it. Maybe I should have made a blanket. Because I think I'm going to have a lot of yarn left over. But it's back in the rotation. And then the other project, I started a new project, knitting project. Do you remember the yarn I lost? The Neighborhood Fiber Company Gradient.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I lost it twice. I mean, I think I lost it, discovered it, said, oh, okay, that's where it is. And then forgot where it was and lost it again. I can't exactly remember, but anyway, it's 1,250 yards of rustic fingering from Neighborhood Fiber Company. And it's a turquoise, it's called Shades of Turquoise, and it's a turquoise gradient. And it starts with a really dark, almost black blue, and then shades into a more true, I don't know if I'd call it turquoise. I guess I'd call it turquoise. A more true turquoise. So there's 2 really dark skeins. Then there's like this medium bright turquoise. And then there's 2 light turquoise skeins. So I'm doing the original project. I looked around for something else, but I thought, you know what? I'm just going to go back to the original project that I selected for this. It's called the Coloresque Wrap, and it's by Erin Kurup. I think her company name is Remade by Hand. And actually, I met her at Stitches, and I believe that this was a gift from her, this pattern. And so I started it one year. Right after, I think the year after I got it, I started it for my Stitches West project, which was a mistake.
Yes, I remember you working on it.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I had been a little further along when we went to Stitches, I think it would have been okay. But it's a striping pattern. So you're using 2 colors, and it's a striping pattern that has you doing stockinette and then 1 purl ridge, and then stockinette and then 1 purl ridge. And so I was having trouble with that. And then I was also having trouble with it's trapezoidal. So you're knitting 2 together on one side and making 1 on the other side, knitting in front and back on the other side. So it's going kind of at a slant, like a trapezoid. So that was an issue. Remembering to do that was an issue. And then it's not really a big edge detail, but it has a little edge detail to keep the edges nice and tidy. And that was giving me fits. So I came home and it was such a mess that I just ripped it out. But now it's back on the needles, and I've gotten a fair ways along. I think I'm maybe at about 20 inches. maybe a little longer than that, maybe closer to 30.
Do you have a project page for this? Yeah.
I just put up a project page, but I don't have a picture yet.
Okay. Oh, let me look here. Oh, here it is. I see. Okay.
And then it has lace. The pattern has these stripes, and then it also has lace sections. Mm-hmm. And so it gives me the opportunity to use the colors.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, the pattern is nice because it's kind of set up. I mean, she has the pattern set up where you just follow the pattern with your colors. But then she also has a page I think it's in the pattern, or maybe it's also linked on the pattern page. But she has a page where you can do your own color design. Mm-hmm. And so she has like the template of the shawl or wrap laid out. And then she talks about, how you can figure out which colors to put where. And it does talk about how many grams of yarn you use for the lace sections. Although I added a repeat, so mine won't be following that exactly. Next lace section I'll have to weigh my yarn and then determine how much yarn I need for one of the lace sections. So I've got 2 lace sections in here now with the striping pattern in between. And I like the lace sections, so I think I'll do more of them than is in the original pattern, because I kind of like that. I haven't done lace in a long time. It actually looks kind of like the lace that you have, like little V pattern, chevron.
Yeah, in my blanket.
Looks very similar to the lace in your blanket.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I'm interested to see a picture of it when you post it. But this is a nice looking shawl. It's pretty.
So I've just been choosing colors along the way, trying to keep, kind of the gradient idea going from dark to light, but I have the contrast stripes. So I've got, sometimes I have 2 medium colors together in the stripes. Sometimes I have the darkest with the lightest colors, just a couple or 1 or 2 shades away. Since I have 5 colors, I have a lot of choices. And it's coming out nicely. It's looking right now like it's not going to be more than just a wide scarf with, stripes and lace combination. But maybe when I block it, it'll be a little bit wider. The original pattern called for, I think, was about 12 inches wide. And then I added an additional repeat of the lace because I wanted it to be a little bit wider than that. But I didn't want to make it so wide that then I wasn't going to have enough yarn. I wasn't sure how that was going to work. So I'm moving along on it and enjoying it. It's giving me 2 projects on the go that are knitting projects. So, and then I have my weaving project.
Okay. And let's hear about that.
So I decided with the monk's belt that I wanted to make, of course, dish towels. The project for the Jane Stafford Guild is placemats. So at first I was a little worried that maybe it was a weave structure that wasn't a good choice for dish towels. But I found a dish towel pattern that in a book I had bought years ago, and it was monk's belt. And turns out it's exactly the same draft as what's in the Jane Stafford Guild, which is basically the Marguerite Porter Davison, Weaver's Bible of stitches. Monk's belt draft. It's not anything, it's not anything new and improved or, combined with other things or whatever. So I'm basically following the information from the episode of the Jane Stafford School of Weaving TV Guild, and also following the pattern from this book. But the book has only 2 dish towels in its warp, and I put on enough for 6 dish towels. I should have enough for 6 dish towels. So I have a little bit of room to play, which will be fun. I did want to talk a little bit about color choice because I had decided I thought I would make dish towels for Sarah for a housewarming gift, my niece, and for my mom for her trailer. The new trailer is sort of gray and brown. The floor is that a lot of people have, the gray like wood floor now is kind of popular, and that is the flooring in the trailer. They don't have carpet; they just have the grayish wood flooring. And then kind of brown upholstery and stuff. So I thought, okay, I'll do neutrals. And I know Sarah, as much as she loves color, is more along the neutrals line for stuff in her house. So I thought, okay, this would be good. I'll find some neutrals. So I grabbed, you remember the yarn that you got me, the Swedish yarn that you got me from the Goodwill, the weaving yarn? It came in a bag. There was a red and a green and a gray.
Oh, right. I didn't know it was Swedish, but yeah, I remember getting that.
I think it's Swedish. Anyway.
Okay.
I took I decided to use the gray out of that. And then I took one of the cones I have of the Sally Fox fiber, which is a brown. It's called Sierra Sienna Brown. And you know the color crayon color of sienna? Yeah. Kind of a rusty brown. Kind of a yellow or orange toned brown. So there's that. And then I put those two together and I was like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm going to use. It's going to be nice neutrals, gray, brown. I have a little bit of black. I have this other cone of this variegated black and brown yarn that I bought thinking I would knit a linen shawl lace shawl that I never did. So I got that out. I got them all together and I wound them. This is great. Neutrals. The gray looks purple and the brown looks orange. When you put all those colors together next to each other, you can really tell that this is a gray that leans blue, like bluey purple, like a lilac color. It sort of leans lilac. Yeah. And this brown, of course, leans very orange. And because those are such, because purple and orange are such contrasting colors, I think they're complementary colors, maybe.
Right.
It really makes them look like it's purple and orange. So it's okay. It's not the neutral that I was going for. It's really pretty. I really like it. Not sure that they're going to go to the intended recipients. It depends how they come out. What I think once I've got them off the loom and once I've put other colors in the weft, because that tones things down a little bit too. So we'll see.
I'm just going to interject here about color in weaving. Is you made me some towels that are actually red, white, and gray, and I swear that gray is green. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because, and I use them at Christmas time because to me they look like Christmas colors, but it's not green, it's gray.
Right.
So I don't know. It's so.
That same gray I'm using as a weft color.
Okay.
And against the other ones, it looks blue. It's like a slate blue. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I have to say, in the towels, it doesn't look like Christmas green. But it definitely looks like a green to me, like a forest green kind of. And it's not. I know it's gray, but
and those are the same. That's the exact same warp as the napkins in the trailer.
Okay.
Yeah, and in the trailer, to me it reads as gray, not green. But in the house, it really did look like it did look green to me too. Yeah. So it's very interesting. Choosing colors is it's fascinating. I really think it's really an interesting thing. And then the thing about weaving that doesn't happen in knitting is that optical blending. You get a lot more of the optical blending in weaving because the pixels are so small, right? When you're weaving, your yarn's going over and under each other. The dots of color are about the size of the yarn, unless you're doing stripes.
Yeah.
Whereas with knitting, your dots of color, the smallest they can be is really a stitch. I mean, even if you're doing mosaic stitch where you're trying to optically blend the colors, doing mosaic knitting or slip stitches where you're trying to optically blend the colors, you're not going to get that kind of blending so much with knitting. So it's kind of funny. And then one last thing about these is the patterning in them is coming from the color that I'm using for the weft. So I started with a weft of an even deeper rust color, and then a black, and then that slate color that you think looks green and that I have thought looked blue. And I was like, okay, yeah, this will be a good color progression, and I'll just repeat this color pattern. And then I took a picture of it this morning and put it on Ravelry. And when I looked at the picture, I went, oh, the black and the gray look like the same color in this picture. I think I need to take out the black and go rust, or take out the gray, the slate that I just started, because I don't have that much of it. I mean, I have less than half an inch. So I think I'm going to take that out and go rust, and then black, and then rust, and then slate. I don't think I want the black and the slate next to each other because they look too much like the same color. Not enough value difference. So anyway, it's one of the things I love about weaving is the color play that you can do. And I'll do, with 6 towels, I'll get to do a lot of it. So yeah, my purple and orange dish towels. I think some parts of color also have to do with what color you think something is. That color, I haven't actually looked, and I don't know if it even says on the label what, a colorway name. I think the label is in Swedish. So I don't know if it says a colorway name. Often weaving cones just have a colorway number. But I wouldn't be surprised if the color name was lilac. And because it was just in a bag with a red and a green and I can't remember what color it was with. But anyway, the color it was with made me think it was gray. And because I thought it was gray, it looked gray. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that I'm looking at the gray, red, and white, and it seems like Christmas colors. So I'm reading it as green because red and green are Christmas colors. I don't know.
Yeah. It's like once your brain locks on what color you think it is, that's what color you see until something comes along to shock you out of that thinking. Like, oh my God, this is purple and orange.
Okay, I'm going to look up your picture because you said
it's in Ravelry, in the weaving.
Oh, in Ravelry. Oh, but here on Instagram too. Did you post a picture?
Yeah, I posted in Instagram.
Oh, you started.
But I didn't have much of the weaving done when I posted on Instagram. It's a better picture will be on a more recent picture. I don't know if it's better, but it's a more recent picture is on Ravelry. So just an interesting thing how color works. And how your brain tells you things that aren't really true.
Yes. So funny, huh? Well, should I talk about my projects then? I don't want to interrupt. Are you done? I don't want to interrupt you.
I'm finished. That's enough. You'll hear more about this project since it's 6 towels. It'll be going for a while.
Okay. Well, I have big news.
Yeah.
Did not finish it between Christmas and New Year's, but at the beach, I finished Ben's sweater. It is done.
Yay!
Yay! And I will not relive the whole thing, but I did. I think the last episode, I don't remember. Honestly, I don't even remember where I was and the whole thing, but I did rip out both sleeves back to the elbow and reknit them with fewer decreases. And I came home from the beach yesterday afternoon. I got home around 4:30 or so, and the first thing I did was wash and block the sweater.
Nice.
So it's drying, and I have a few ends to weave in, but I'm calling it done.
Nice. Yeah.
So, and it blocked out really nicely. It grew a little bit, which is what I wanted, and so I think it's going to be, I'm just glad I'm done. So I'm starting off the new year fresh. So that's all I'm going to say about the sweater. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
You're done.
I'm done.
End of story.
And I will say, end of story. I will say I finished it at the beach now, and I don't even remember now what day it was I finished it. And when I bound off I had finished the first sleeve before I went to the beach, and then I finished the second sleeve at the beach and bound off the cuff. And I was getting, like 10 rows, 9 rows, 8 rows, 7 rows, and getting more and more excited. And this huge weight has been lifted off of me by having that done.
Nice.
I feel like this is a great way to start the new year. It's done. Woohoo! I'm excited. So anyway, I worked on my January blanket, and I have knit about 28 inches of it. And I really like it. I think it's turning out really nicely. It feels great because it's hand spun, kind of woolen spun is what I tried. And so it's very light, but it's very nice. And this is really nice yarn. It's a woolly yarn, but it's not harsh at all. It's just super nice. Really like it.
It looks really pretty. I like that solid color. I mean, we've both done so many blankets with, colors changing and all that. But that is a really nice look. That one solid color with a nice lace pattern.
Yeah. And I love the color of this. I never know what to call it. It's sort of caramel, cafe au lait.
Yeah.
The color of milk and tea. I don't know.
Yeah, I would say cafe au lait is a good way to describe it.
The color of a little brown dog. I don't know. Don't know.
It's a little lighter than Orkney, right?
Yeah. I'm just to interject. I remember I probably have said this before in the podcast, but I worked with a guy who was in a Cajun band. And so he knew a lot about Cajun cooking because he always would go down to Louisiana. And so I asked him if he had a recipe for gumbo. And you started with a roux and you cooked the flour and oil together until it was the color of an old hound dog. And we worked together, and I went up to the receiving area where he worked, and I just, on a piece of paper, I wrote down his recipe, and that's what I actually wrote down. Cook the roux until it's the color of an old hound dog. So this is like the color of an old hound dog, I guess. Anyway.
That's funny.
Anyway, so I'm really enjoying knitting on this. And then I guess I mentioned in the last episode, because I had it here in the show notes, that I bought the Noro Kureyon to make the Noromania blanket for my brother. And I gave it to him for Christmas. And he's thrilled with it. So I'm going to cast that on, as soon as I finish this blanket, I'll start that and do a little figuring about what size I want to make. But my big news is I have a new addition to the yarn fiber family, which is I bought an electric spinning wheel.
Woo!
And so both Kim and I bought it's called the Electric Eel, or the EEW 6.0, technically, from Dreaming Robots. And I'll talk more about this at a later date, but they arrived in the mail, and we didn't unbox them until we got to the beach and set them up. Very easy. We watched the tutorial they have on the Dreaming Robots website, and so we set them up. I should back up and say our inspiration for buying these was our friend Dagmar. She bought one a while ago, and she had it at the NoCKRs retreat, and I was really interested in it. And when I knew she was going to be meeting us at Black Sheep, I said to Kim, you need to come and check out her spinning wheel, this e-spinner, because Kim has been adamant she was not going to get a spinning wheel.
You're right.
She's stick with the drop spindle. And I could tell when she was watching Dagmar that she was very interested. So anyway, we had fun our 4 days down there of just playing with the spinning wheels. It was interesting. I had some Polworth that I had bought years ago. I don't even remember now where I bought it. So I was practicing with that. And she also had Polworth that was dyed. And so she was practicing with that. And it is really interesting to spin the same fiber, but one's dyed and one's not dyed, how they're different. Mm-hmm. Because the technique of dyeing, the roving, it gets a little stuck together kind of, and there's a little bit more pre-drafting that has to go on than with an undyed fiber, I think.
Yeah.
Roving. But they're great wheels, and I think they're really well designed. He's thought of everything. And we also, it does not come with a battery, but you can order a battery so then it'd be great for Kelly if I go to the trailer rally again.
Yeah.
I would actually be able to, it'd be easier to transport this to California on a plane or whatever, or in the car. And then I don't need to plug in. I can just spin off the battery. So it's going to be great for all kinds of situations. But it is funny. Kim was sitting at the dining room tables practicing, and I was sitting on the sofa and had the wheel sitting on the coffee table. And underneath the coffee table, there was another little shelf. And I kept pushing on that shelf with my foot, trying to treadle, stop the wheel, start the wheel. That was actually amusing to me. I kind of thought, wow, this is so nice. I wonder what it's going to be like when I go home and spin on little Herbie. And last night I spun for 2 hours or so while I watched the news and whatnot. And I love little Herbie. I've not given up my complete love for little Herbie. I love treadling, but this is a really nice. It's going to be great for taking to the beach, taking to your house, taking to NoCKRs, because it's so portable. So I have to thank Dagmar for introducing us to it, because it's been great. It's really fun. So I'll report more on it. Kim and I are, I think, going to get together this weekend to practice a bit more, and I might record a little bit, get some of her thoughts.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'll do that.
That would be a good idea.
I have to say, I thought about recording when we were at the beach, but honestly, it was kind of fun just to get lost in it and not have to think about talking about it. Right.
Well, you'll have more to talk about once you've been working with it a little bit longer too.
Yeah. It's interesting, though, the bobbins on the website, they say they hold 8 ounces of fiber. And so I'm interested to see, I'm spinning a 4-ounce skein, and it's about half full. So I'm going to see if it'll hold the 8 ounces. That's a lot.
That is a lot. There. It's kind of a double-edged sword. It's sort of like in with the fountain pens. When you buy ink. So, there are some people who are real big proponents of, the ink bottles that come, 50 milliliters, 60 milliliters, 80 milliliters, these nice big bottles of ink that you get your money's worth, right?
Right.
The problem with that, or the other side of that double-edged sword, is that you have all of this ink. And then if you want a different color, it's hard to justify buying. Well, for some people, it's hard to. For myself, it's hard to justify. I guess if I were further down this rabbit hole, I could have a whole large stash of over 200 inks, like some people do.
Yeah, really.
But it's more difficult to justify buying another bottle of ink in a different color that looks fun and that you want, when you have, 50, 60, 70 milliliter bottles of ink that are big. And you don't even use, I think one time when we were talking, I said that it takes like 10 milliliters. It doesn't even take 1 milliliter to fill most of my pens. I was way off there. So, if you're using less than a milliliter every time you fill your pen, and it takes me a couple of weeks for my pens to run out if I have a couple of pens inked up at the same time, it's like, that's a lot of ink, right? So these bobbins. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, if I'm spinning just a natural colored cream yarn or fiber, it's going to, and 8 ounces, that's days of the same thing, So I know what you're saying is you can't, like, it's having a smaller bobbin, you get to change a lot more,
right. And that's part of what I like. I mean, you could even spin 2 8-ounce. If you had 16 ounces, you could spin 2 8-ounce bobbins and then ply those two together. Like, you could be working on cream colored yarn for what felt like Ben's
Well,
sweater,
and
a Ben's sweater worth of time.
well, and also, Kelly, I'm just going to add this in there too, is that before I went packing for the beach, getting the wheel and getting my, the first thing you pack when you travel as a knitter is all of your projects, right? And so I was like, what fiber am I going to spin? And so I found I had this Polworth, and me being me, I didn't buy one skein. I bought 3 packages of 4 skeins each.
4 ounces?
So how many? So each package has 4 pieces of hanks of roving.
Okay.
In it, and each one is 4 ounces.
Okay. So you have 16 ounces in a bag, and you have 3 bags. 3 pounds of Polworth. Okay, Marsha, good.
I'm like with it, but I do know. As I say, I don't remember where I bought it. If I bought it at Black Sheep or if I bought it at Fiber Fusion.
Yeah.
I think I bought it at Black Sheep because I did not buy it in the marketplace. I remember I bought it from the person with the sheep.
Oh,
like out in the barn.
Yeah.
And I don't remember. Anyway, I bought 3 bags, and there's 4 skeins in each bag,
and it's all undyed.
And each skein is 4 ounces. It's all undyed.
Undyed natural white.
Yeah, I'm slightly insane.
Well, it doesn't all have to be one.
You know me,
project.
I always buy a sweater quantity of something. Right. I always buy a big quantity of something. So I don't know what I was thinking.
Is a little more than one sweater.
Yeah, I know. It's another blanket.
Oh my gosh. Now you're going to become known as the person who always buys a blanket quantity.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
Oh my
so
gosh.
I don't know what I'm going to I didn't even spend the 4 ounces.
It's about like if you bought a fleece and sent it away to be processed, right? A smallish fleece and sent it out to be processed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm just a little.
I kind of learned my lesson from the 6 pounds of CVM.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say I learned the lesson because I'm pretty sure I didn't, but I do remember being really sick of it by the time I was done.
Yeah.
And in fact, I found a little scrap of roving from that CVM fleece this summer while I was cleaning up. I found a little bump of it, and I think I ended up I might have put it in the felting box, but I might have put it with the stuff that I used to compost. I might have just said, you know what, I'm done. I'm totally done with you. Ready to be I want this out of my stash. Totally. Not even a little scrap of it in this felting box. I think I did end up composting it. I mean, it was less than 1 ounce, I think, but still.
Yeah. I mean, I in my defense, I have to defend myself just a little bit, is that I did buy this early in my spinning life. And when I was in, new knitters, new crocheters, new weavers, new spinners, anybody new to something, you get all excited about it. And you think you're never going to see any fiber ever again. This is your only chance to buy something. And, so I went a little crazy.
Well, and you go through it fast. If you're really spinning, especially when you're a beginner or if you're making yarn that's thicker, you do go through roving. You can go through roving quickly, depending on the type of thing you're spinning. But you can go through it quite quickly, because I remember doing a swap that was 24. I had to make 24 skeins, each of them 2 ounces. So that's 48 ounces. So that's 3 pounds, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I remember telling myself at the beginning, if I just spin this 3 pounds, by the time I'm done spinning 3 pounds of wool, I'll be a good spinner. And I cranked through it one summer, just spinning for this swap. It wasn't all the same type of fiber, but I basically gathered together 3 pounds of fiber and spun it for this swap. So you do go through it fast when you're a newer spinner, And I could see where you would think, okay, I need more because I'm just a 4-ounce braid just takes me no time at all,
Basically, I really love the wheel. I think it's a great investment just for traveling, just because there's so many times I've not been able to bring my wheel to visit you or to the beach, and I'm all engrossed in a project, but then I can't take it.
Well, that's nice. I'm excited to see it.
I have to say, we have to finish because my ear pods are failing. The right one is run out of charge. So let's keep moving here before my earbuds fail.
Okay.
What else do we have to talk about?
Do you have anything else for your project?
No, that's it. That's all I have.
Okay. So the only other thing we have to remind our patrons about is the Patreon pattern giveaway. This is our year-end thank you to our patrons for their support of our show. And so they should just let me know, email me, email or message me on Ravelry with the pattern of your choice, $10 or less, and I will get that pattern out to you. I just want to thank everyone who supports us on Patreon. And if anyone would like to join the Patreon supporters, the link is at the top of our show notes, and it's patreon.com/Two Ewes, and you can become a patron of our show. But yeah, get your information to us, and we'll get you your pattern choice.
Yeah. So thank you. All right. I think that's it, Kelly.
I agree.
I have to go because you're fading in you're fading in my left ear now. So
okay.
I think we talked too long before we started recording.
Right.
Anyway. Okay. All right. Well, we'll talk in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks, yeah.
All righty. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit twoewesfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the Two Ewes
doing our part for World Fleece.